Interviews is like dating. That's what a professor told me once. An interview is like dating, right? You're trying to basically find out if you like this company or if that company you're interviewing with likes you too.
Interview is not a one-way process. I cannot stress that enough, right? A lot of people just take a passive stand during interviews, right? You give me questions, I give you answers. No.
Hey, welcome back, everybody.
Come on, you gotta sound a little bit more energetic, man. What the heck?
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to CSbois podcast episode 5. Yeah, I haven't looked at the channel for a while. Obviously, we've been busy.
Or you have been just not feeling doing one episode.
No, I have been busy. Okay, I've been moving. I've been adapting to my new job. Where do I work? Check my LinkedIn. Okay. So what are we going to talk about today?
You're gonna bait people into looking at your LinkedIn profile and by not saying it.
Yeah, I have LinkedIn Premium. I know who's working or who's looking at my account.
You're gonna be like, who are my viewers that is looking at my profile?
Who are my viewers? Where do they work?
Before we go into too deep into our topic, we are doing resume reviews. That's right. You're hearing that's right. Resume reviews for free. If you're a recent grad and or in the software field looking for jobs, right? And or you're working, you just want your resume to be reviewed by us, send it our way to computersciencebois@gmail.com.
Is that our email? I thought it was CSbois.
It's fully spelled because CSbois is taken, so it's computersciencebois. Boys spelled BOIS @gmail.com. There will be a link in the description. You can send it. We already have a few submission. We'll also be going over our own, especially mine, previous resume that sucked, that didn't get a lot of jobs. And we'll show you some of the techniques, right? And it's just sometimes it's good to have a second pair of eyes on a resume. That's basically your Tinder profile. That's what people will see you. That's what people judge you on, right? So it better be good.
We'll be helping you with your dating profiles to get you laid with a 6-figure income, hopefully.
That's a weird way to put it, but I agree. Yes.
Yes. My name is Juan. I'm a software engineer now. At a big tech company, the biggest one probably in our day and age.
You're in Fang now.
I'm in Fang. I am a Fang engineer. FAANG. What's the other A? Apple and
Airbnb. I know it doesn't fucking make sense though. Apple. Airbnb or Apple, whatever. It doesn't fucking make sense.
No, I actually forgot I
don't understand why Netflix is on there, right?
Yeah. They're pretty big, I guess, like if you're a company that's big enough,
I think they only hire seniors.
They do, yeah.
All right. Hi, name is Edward. A startup, working at a startup as an infrastructure guy. All right.
But you're a software engineer.
Yeah.
That's your title, right?
Yeah, software engineer is the title. All right,
what's our topic about today?
Dive in. Today's topic is behavioral questions, behavioral interviews. What is behavioral interviews? I did not know such thing. I always hear people just say, okay, just practice lead code, right? Just practice lead code and you'll be fine. But you know what? The moment I got asked, why do you want to become a software engineer? Bitch. I blinked. So, what is behavioral questions? It's basically any questions that is outside of technical, even when they're asking about your resume. Even just your dress, right? The way you act is part of behavioral.
Yeah. This is something that you probably hear as like soft skills, and it's also kind of just like a
It's
check
soft
into
skills is
whether or
only
not,
part of it.
yeah, it's also a check into like, are you sociable? What kind of person are you? Are you gonna fit in the company culture, kind of thing?
Yes. And behavior, right? Human behavior, we usually don't want to change too much, right? We don't want to show the wrong side of ourselves. We don't want to lie
Mm-hmm.
to people. But
Mm,
in behavioral interview, there are something you can actually prepare, something you can actually practice.
yeah.
And you don't necessarily have to lie about things, right? You
Mm-hmm.
just sort of like you just have to think about these questions beforehand,
Yeah.
and that will
But
make you like miles ahead of other people that didn't prepare for those kind of questions.
yeah, typically, with behavioral interviews, um, for some people, it's the easiest part. I think for a majority of people, it's the easiest part. But I think for some people out there, it's actually like one of the hardest parts of the interview.
I
Uh,
struggle. I struggle.
yeah, but I think a good general rule is you don't want to show your bad side, show your good side, but also, don't suck your own ego too much,
And as I said before, just having those questions prepared will set you up good,
Yeah, you can basically repeat some of these questions,
which is
just
what
like,
we're gonna go over today. It's some
yeah,
of these behavioral questions that you might get asked or we got asked.
yeah, yeah. So one of the common ones is like, why do you want to be like an X engineer, like a data
Right.
engineer, software
Yeah,
engineer,
DevOps
infrastructure?
engineers.
Yeah.
Why do we want to be in a support role? Why do you want to be a
Hmm.
sales engineers? Apparently, there's a thing, sales engineers. Okay,
Yeah. I actually don't know what sales engineers do.
I think they're just sales.
Okay.
Maybe in a future podcast we'll have sales engineers come on board, maybe,
Yeah.
and tell us what it
Yeah.
is.
If you are a sales engineer, let us know. So what did you say about? Because I don't really remember what I said.
I was well, at the time I wanted to be a DevOps engineers, right? And I have a branding. You basically just need to think of what's your branding. Why do you want to work on X, right? Maybe there's some personal experience. Maybe you just love something, right? If you just love data, you just like it's kind of hard to say like, oh, I really like to run queries. Well, that's not really a good reason, right? But if you're coming from, let's say, a data analyst background, right? You deal with data a lot. You didn't have, you didn't deal with a database before. Maybe all you have is Excel spreadsheets. And now, maybe that guy uh, put in a database and have SQL, have database, have queries that he can run. Well,
Hmm.
that's your branding, right? He liked that stuff. For me, my branding was I like to automate things. I don't like to do things in a manual way, right? I wanted everything just happen on its own. That was my branding, and that's why I want to be a DevOps engineer because DevOps engineer have a lot of automations, right? The whole point is to make the flow, the conflict between the, development and operations more seamless without
Hmm.
too much human involvement. And
Didn't you say you wanted to be a DevOps engineer because you're lazy? You don't like to code. I remember
I,
you said that one time.
I, I don't think
You're
that's
like,
a
oh,
good
I'm
thing to tell
lazy.
the employees, but there might be some truth to that.
You were like, oh, it matches my personality. I'm
There
lazy.
might be some truth to that. Well, another reason why I also really want to be DevOps is because I don't want to just be we knee deep into the code, right? I also want to do some system stuff, and that's
Hmm.
why this is a perfect hybrid for me, I
Yeah.
think. And it doesn't your story doesn't needs to be big, right? Just like Juan, right? He got in touch with data engineering projects, and that's how his path is set. And just think, just talk about why do you like your project so much and why you want to work on it more.
Make it up.
Moving on.
Yeah. Why why do you want to work here?
Why do you
Why
why do
this
you want to
company?
work at Amazon?
Yeah.
Why not Google?
Actually, I don't think I got that question at Amazon, but I'm pretty sure. I think I always prepare these types of questions before an interview, and I think one of the answers, um, like I always like to hit like sweet spots with interviewers, or if they ask me things like, "Oh, why do you want to work at this company?" I typically like talk about a product that they're working on, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's really cool. That's really interesting." So it also shows that you kind of like did your homework about the company. And this is especially true if you're having a interview with like a hiring manager on the phone or like an HR person, because like HR people are typically not too technical. So, but they would be aware of some like big projects that you're working on, because it's probably like talked about all over the company.
And also, it's just good to prepare for this. Even if they didn't ask you, you can still bring it up, right? In the HR, you can
Yeah,
just tell them, "Oh yeah, I like this. That's why I applied here."
yeah. And I think with Amazon specifically, you get interviewed on something called leadership principles. There's like this list of 14 like characteristics of a leader that I think you typically have to like memorize to heart.
I did. When I was interviewing there, dude, I just straight up like, dude, I basically tell them, yeah, I did homework. This
Yeah.
story that I just tell, it aligns with your principles. I,
Hmm.
I, pretty much straight up just tell them that, just
Yeah,
to
and I
show
think
I did my homework.
yeah, I think like obviously like I've looked at the leadership principles a lot, and like they're not really fluff, like, and it doesn't really just apply to Amazon. I think if you show like those kinds of characteristics in an interview, like those principles are just like generally good characteristics to have as an engineer. So I think just like looking at them, even though you're not interviewing for Amazon, is like going to be pretty effective.
I have interviewed at a startup that has that they basically just copied. They copied. They copied
Yeah,
Amazon. They didn't even change a word. It's the same wording, everything,
yeah.
and they just sent
My
that out in a PDF to
yeah,
me.
yeah. My last company's like uh often brought up term is like customer obsession. That's probably like true for every
Oh,
company out there that has a product.
that's one of the principle on there.
Mm-hmm.
Customer obsession. I forgot already. It's been so long.
Customer obsession. Yeah.
Okay. Um, moving on.
What's
I
your
love
strength?
yeah, I love this ones. I love this one.
Yeah,
What
this is the question that you shouldn't suck your own ego too hard on.
what's your strength and weakness?
Yeah, I care too much. I'm too detailed. Uh,
I have no weakness.
yeah, I work too much.
My strength is I have no weakness.
Yeah, don't say that. Okay.
Yeah,
Like
they're not actually looking for um
what you're good at.
they're not looking for what this question is asking. Let's put it this way.
Hmm.
This question, whoever gave you this question is not looking for what this question is asking.
Hmm.
Let's talk about weakness first because that's easier to say, right?
Yeah.
What they're actually looking for in the what's your weakness question is what's your solution to your weakness? How do you conquer it? What are the action items that you did?
Yeah.
And that really shows how you improve yourself, right?
Yeah.
Let's say for example, I always lost track of time, right? I always get too knee deep into things and then just forget about other things,
Yeah.
right? And you can start off with that, but you have to then immediately give your solutions, right? Oh,
Hmm.
okay. The way I combat this is I wear a watch all the time. I set alarm clock all the time. I have like a what is that like a tomato something? Tomato clock thing.
I have no idea what that is.
You don't know what that? It's like a focused programming kind of thing. Like you only get 40 minutes of concentrated time, and after that it's basically a waste of time. So you just work at a 40-minute interval, something like that.
Oh yeah, time boxing.
Yeah.
I think is what it's called.
But I think you get the idea, right?
Yeah.
We
You
give the
wanna
solutions to the problem.
right. You wanna say, oh, my weakness is A, but the way that I conquered my weakness is through B, right? You want to always you don't want to just like say, oh yeah, I suck at this, right? Because the interviewer is going to be like, oh yeah, she's bad at this, but I didn't really like you want to be a problem solver, right? You want to be good at problem solving. Of course, you don't want to say like, oh, I'm I'm a hard worker. That's my weakness. And don't say something unrelated like, oh yeah, I'm lactose intolerant. I'm afraid of heights. You know, don't say those things because they're totally unrelated to the interview. I think I don't have to say that, but
All right. How about what's your strength? How do you tackle that, right? You don't want to come out to be like a ego guy, right? A high
mhm,
ego person.
yeah.
But what would you say?
What's my strength? It's just really a hard one. I think when like questions that ask you to sort of like self reflect on like your quirks, are typically the
That's
hardest one
why
to
we
think
need
of.
to prepare for behavioral questions. See,
Yeah,
some people might be able to just think on the spot, right? But for others, I like to be prepared as much
yeah.
as possible.
It's like those high school assignments that ask you like, oh, what's your describe yourself in 3 words, right? You don't know unless you're a total like
I
egotistical maniac.
I have a very good answer if you can't think of anything, especially for new grads.
Yeah,
Is
go for it.
I am a quick learner, right? That's my strength, and you better be because boy, will you be learning about a lot of stuff,
Yeah,
and that's really easy, right?
yeah. I think something like I like to take leadership just so like I understand everything that's going on throughout the team. That's another good thing to say. Basically, like you in interviews, like in behavioral interviews, you always want to demonstrate leadership because they're trying like every company wants to hire and develop the best because when you first start working at a company, probably like your first half year, your first year, like you're a liability to the company and they want to invest in you. So, and the way that they know if they want to invest in you or not is they need to determine if you're going to be a leader someday. So, demonstrating that kind of quality is, I think, pretty valuable. Okay. Um, what's another behavioral type? Okay. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? I think I got that once.
It's a tough one.
Um,
I still don't know how to answer this.
yeah. It's like, let's see.
I mean,
Actually, but
the most like
last time,
the most generic ass question is like you would be basically what is it? Not account manager. What is it called? Like the you will basically manage all the service in your team.
mm,
What? How do we say it?
engineering manager.
No,
What
like
do you
you will
mean?
basically be the point of contact to all the service, right? You will basically be managing whatever the team is managing,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
right? If you're, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the most generic answer would be like, oh, I want to be a senior engineer or something like that. Yeah, I think this type of question also kind of like tries to dig into your leadership quality. Um, yeah, before I quit my job, like literally the day before I quit my last job, I was having like a happy hour with my friends and like my team, and like I'm super like non-formal with my like work friends and super formal with my teammates. And then one of them asks like, "Oh, Juan, where do you want to be in 10 years?" I'm like, "Shit, I don't know." I was like, "I want to work for Tesla."
I want to be in a mansion and not work. I just want my
Yeah,
company to IPO and I have all
yeah.
the money and I don't have to work. That's what I see myself in 10
I want
years.
to be a millionaire. I want to be a gajillionaire.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
not that. Yeah, don't say that.
yeah. Don't say those. Those are bad examples. But yeah, just think of things that if you hear it, it'll make you think, oh yeah, this guy's a leader. This guy wants to be a leader. It's
Or
typically it.
this guy's want to grow, right? Don't say
Yeah.
like, oh, maybe I'll just be the little independent contributor that I am, just
Yeah.
answering ticket. Right? Don't say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next, next.
Yeah. Tell me a time you had a conflict with your team. Oh, I hate this question. It's like if you're a new grad or in general, like you don't really have bad teams, I think.
That's not true though. It's
Really?
just for me. Do you not have conflict with your team? Because I do.
I don't know. I never had like conflicts with my teammates because
What do
okay.
you mean? Even at hackathon, you have a bunch of conflicts.
Oh yeah. That's a bad example, but like at work, typically like I'm a junior. Like everybody else is like more senior on my team and they're older than me. So I typically just say, okay, I mean, if you wanna.
True, that's true. Right at work, that's true. Because you're basically the bottom. Well, I had
I
some
think
at work.
there's a fine line. There was one time where I argued with a senior engineer on my team at my last job, and like I had like like a design decision that would have taken more time, but I think it's the correct way to like handle something. And they were like, "Oh yeah, like your concern is valid, but like it's just gonna take too much time to implement," which is I don't think is true. It might take like an extra week or something. And that project's deadline keeps getting pushed back like every month anyway. So and then like literally before I left, maybe like a week or two before, they decided to go with the design that um I thought of. So I think that was the only conflict that I had. But during that situation, it's like, what could I say? I'm just a junior. I can't just be like, oh yeah, no, this is wrong. I can't really fight it because the one that makes the decision is like the senior engineer that
Yeah, yeah.
is on my team.
So I don't think so. That's definitely some conflict, but that's not really a good story to tell for this
Yeah.
particular questions.
Hmm.
A good story to tell is, and I'm sure again, I don't believe you did not have conflict when you're in college. When I was working at what my capstone projects, right, with the four other people, dude, there's so much conflicts.
Oh yeah,
That
I think with students who you like don't
yeah,
have much respect for.
when you're all on like a relatively level playing field, a relatively same level kind of situations, there will be much more conflict. And
Yeah.
again, this questions, it's not the conflict that you need to describe, is the resolutions, is your solutions,
Mhm.
is what they're looking for, right?
Yeah.
You have a conflict, how do you resolve it?
Yeah.
What did you do to
Typically,
fix those?
typically like a common thing you can say is like, oh, I had an argument with a teammate on a certain design. Um, how do we resolve it? A good answer is typically, oh, we compromised, or we like listed out pros and cons, and then went with the decision that had the most beneficial impact or something.
I'll give you a better one, right? The, we have we usually have meetings, but people don't show up. That's a conflict right there. And how do you resolve that? What's the solutions? You go get a Google Calendar, just put like everyone's name and invite them to a meeting. That's it.
Yeah.
Very simple, right?
Or a real life example that Edward and I had. Um, I was doing a hackathon.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
won't say
that's true.
who, but one team member got so pissed. He like because we had a debate on how to best present the project. Um, one teammate wanted to do a UI, which is what we ended up going with. Another teammate had wanted to just like kind of basically show like a Jupyter notebook,
Do we want to go
like
into
list,
details? I don't know. I feel like we're calling that person out.
and then yeah, we didn't resolve it, did we? It
I mean,
kind
I
of just
tried, right? I tried
yeah
to. I think I think what I said is correct. I try
yeah
to have him stay,
yeah. We
but
tried we tried to compromise. We were in the process of compromising, but then he kind of just exploded and left the team.
yeah. So like, I try to resolve it, but it didn't turn out the way that I wanted to. But that's life, right?
Mhm.
Even let's say your boss wanted to keep you around,
Yeah,
you already signed the contract, so you have to leave, right? That's.
yeah,
But at least you make the effort.
yeah. And we won first prize at the hackathon, so
Low
it's all
ego,
good.
low ego, low ego. Keep it low, keep it low.
Okay. All right. What's the next one? Um, I didn't get this one. Be ready to answer why you left your previous position.
Yeah. So this goes to this is like a sort of like a not so, more like a resume questions, right? When they see your resume, they'll start answer question. They might give you these questions if it looks odd, right? If you have a gap year, if you if you leave your previous position less than a year in, right? They might wanted to know because usually they want you to stick around at least for I would say like 3 years is pretty good, and anything
Yeah.
less than that might be like a orange flag. You know,
Mm.
less than a year is definitely a red flag.
Yeah. I think this is something I would get more out of like an exit interview. It's like, why are you leaving? Uh, yeah, I got like why are you leaving at my current place or my previous place?
Yeah, I'm sure you all have a good answer for it, but just prepare for that. Um,
Yeah.
I certainly did. I stayed at my first job for less than half year, not even a year. So
Hmm.
I definitely prepare for that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I don't have much to say about this one, so we can move on.
How do you
Um,
want your manager to manage you? What style do you want your manager to manage you? I have
yeah.
that question before.
Hmm. I don't, but I can see why this would be useful because I think when you're on the job, um probably the most helpful person to help you like get started is your manager. Um and it's really helpful to sort of like have weekly meetings. I mean, I think if you're at a company with good management or like a decent management, they would always probably schedule some one-on-one meetings with you just to like sort of check up how you're doing. uh and I think that during those meetings it's good to ask your manager, oh, what are my areas of improvements? What should I focus on within the next week or two? Like my first month, what should I focus on? What are my goals? Always set up goals. um,
Yeah,
yeah, like your manager is there to help you.
yeah, some generic ass question answer for this question is just autonomy, right? You want your manager to have autonomy so that they're not like micromanaging you. Regular
Yeah,
checkups, one on one, and the manager is there to some managers are technical, some managers are not technical.
yeah.
Non-technical one, other than well, the non-tech the technical one, other than you can ask them technical question, is they are there to resolve cross-functional conflicts,
Yeah.
cross-functional team conflict, right? To help you unblock things.
hmm I've had both. My current manager is pretty technical because I think he's been on the team for like 6 or 7 years, and he kind of like knows a lot of the code bases. But my previous one, he was only with the company for like 6 months, and he didn't really know a lot of the code base, especially like I would probably say that I knew more of it than he did. because I actually wrote some of it, and he's kind of just manages different teams. So he's more of like maybe towards the business side of the
I mean,
spectrum.
you probably touched that code more than him, right? He might
Yeah,
have one or two.
exactly.
He might looked at it one or two times. He might have somebody
Yeah,
explain it to him, but
yeah. But
he's not
he
the
like
actual.
yeah, I always found that it was really helpful to talk to him. I think with him, I typically like to um, sort of have an overview of like the entire like project or the entire pipeline because he typically knows that best. And also just like don't be afraid to ask your manager like how did you feel when you first started working? Like I feel clueless. Like is this like normal? Blah blah blah. I always like to ask that sometimes. So it's like your mentor kind of thing. That's what a
Okay,
good manager should do.
let's move on to some of the ones that we didn't get asked, but we found it online. So, and I think they're kind of valid.
Hmm.
First one is, can you handle working on less interesting project as well as bigger interesting project?
Yeah, I never got this one, but I have seen it a lot. Um, what did I answer to this?
I mean, what are they looking for?
Uh,
They're obviously looking for you are down to do whatever
yeah, yeah.
business
I
needed.
think I think this kind of question is mostly looking for like your passion on like being like engineering. You know, your passion on engineering. Like, are you gonna be as passionate when you're working on like a big project as you are on like less big projects? Because I think when you're an engineer, you're probably going to get thrown into a lot of different spaces where like some projects are kind of like high priority, others are not. Um, so I guess it could be a sense into like how you will behave like a day to day throughout your time working here. What do you think?
And what do I think? I don't know. For me, it seems like for the business side of things, right? They want you to work um, the level of involvement, the level of excitement of for you to work on a how do I put it? I think it should not differ.
Mm.
You might be more interested in working on projects that are more interesting,
Yeah.
but I don't think you should, right? You should have the same level of effort in working on all types of projects, right? Yeah, there's this one, how to deal with criticism. There's one that is, uh, tell me a time you took ownership of projects, right? You can again relate that to your school
Leadership.
projects. Maybe you're a leader role or something, or maybe you're not. Then tell tell them a time that you're working on your personal projects and how do you
Yeah.
manage that.
Mhm. And then also how to keep up with the latest technology, I think sort of just digs into your passion for technology. Uh, a good way to do that is just like read LinkedIn. I follow big tech companies.
It
Uh,
and this might actually be a really valid reason for, let's say, security engineer where they have to keep updated all the time, right? It might not be as valid for other role, but definitely valid for security people.
yeah, probably just like if you're working for a company that is known to have a lot of competitors, probably a useful thing to do.
Okay, you want to talk about the bullshit behavior
Yeah.
interview
So these
question you
are
got?
yeah. So first we talk about like real behavioral interviews that kind of like twist your brain a little bit. Then we talk about questions that we really don't know how to answer even now.
Yet.
And then yet, and now we have actual bullshit interviews, like behavioral interview questions that no company should ever ask. Um, So one of the things I got asked before was like, "What's important to you?" And I'm like, "Why is this important?" It was I got interviewed by a guy who said that he barely comes to the office, and I don't think he codes at all.
The
I'm not
guy's
really
just
sure.
trolling you, dude. That guy's just trolling
Yeah,
you by answering by
yeah,
asking you these questions.
yeah. I was like, "What's important to you?" And I was just like obviously I was pretty new to like interviewing because I was job hunting and I was fresh out of college, and like maybe this question kind of targeting like um my interest in technology, my interest in working here, like what's important to you. I was just like, I don't know, my parents, I guess, which was just like such a dumb answer. I think if you come across these questions, I think picking something more technical as an answer would probably help you.
This is super vague questions, right? You can
Yeah,
probably just ask him, "What do you mean? What
yeah,
in which way?"
yeah. But in this like this interview round was like, I'm gonna ask you a question and you tell me the first thing that comes to your head. I'm like, oh, okay. So I can't really ask like, oh, what do you mean, right? I have to like right away answer what I like, what I think of, right? And I was like, okay,
Money.
yeah,
What's important to me? Money.
yeah. Color, red. Food, pork. Yeah, it felt like those kinds of questions. Yeah, and then also, um, another secret behavioral interview is actually, if you interview at a company and they have free food, you're probably going to have a lunch interview. Or a company might buy you food and ask you to, have a lunch with the team. Um, so some of the things to, do or don't do is, I would say just pig out. Just like eat the food,
I mean,
Um,
this is a good time to like talk about your hobbies, right? If you have some like interesting hobbies, like building
yeah,
servers, right? Running
yeah,
a Pixie, not Pixie, running something, right? Playing music,
yeah.
right?
I think for me, I've had one lunch interview and I was pretty nervous. It was with like two other engineers. So we kind of just like started talking about technical things, like, oh, the company's like architecture. Oh, like what teams do you work on? What do you do? Uh, like what are some development practices that you do every day? And I was just like, a lot of things went over my head, and like I didn't even get to eat my food because I wanted to like talk. So
Definitely don't do that. Definitely enjoy your food.
yeah, I think yeah. I mean, their food tasted like shit anyway.
Oh,
It wasn't good.
oh, that's why. That's why you didn't eat a lot.
Yeah, they had this soup, like there was rice in it and duck. It wasn't good at all. There was no flavor. It was just like watery duck rice.
Yeah, well, that's a good topic. You can talk about food, right? You can
Yeah.
talk about, this food sucks. I can do much better than them, right? Maybe one of the team members is like, oh yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, this is like a social test too, but also I think it's okay to talk about technical things. Just talk about what you want really, but just make sure you have a good time. Don't do what I did. Uh, yeah, so I just
lunch can be a little stressful if you've been like stressed out on interview. Lunch can be a little stressful but I'll say just relax and
yeah.
you'll be fine.
Yeah, I heard Google has great food, so definitely don't be afraid to eat that.
And and this is what we're gonna talk about later. Is you will also have usually have prepared a bunch of questions that you wanted to ask them,
Hmm.
right? And it might be a good time at lunch just to bring those up.
Yeah.
And that's a segue to questions that you can answer, or no, the questions you can ask the interviewers. Because interview is not a one-way process. I cannot stress that enough, right? A
Hmm.
lot of people just take a passive stand during interviews, right? You
Yeah.
give me questions, I give you answers. No,
Hmm.
no, no,
I think
no.
a good mindset to have when you're having an interview to help you feel less nervous is um like this is something you told me to make me feel better. Is like I was just like, oh man, I can't wait to get grilled at a company for like 3 hours. But then you were like, oh, just enjoy the learning process. Like enjoy learning about the company. Enjoy like getting to know people. I think that's like some actual genuine advice. Is that again you're at a date. You're having a date with a company, right? You're trying to see if you like them too. So, and I think that
Exactly.
this can be applied to like uh, technical phone interviews too, or just like any general phone interview you have. Because at the end of an interview, an interview will always be like, "Oh, do you have any questions for me?" Like I'll leave 5 minutes or 10 minutes at the end of the interview for you to ask questions. Always ask questions. I think if you say like, "Oh, yeah, I don't have anything to ask," it kind of uh, come off as, "Oh, I don't really care about the company."
It
So it's
it's
always
hard
good
though
to ask.
to come up with questions to ask on the phone. It's tough. It's more tough than asking that
Yeah,
to like an engineer in the team, because usually HR you can't really relate to HR too much.
yeah.
But maybe you can think of something
I think
yeah,
with
like how
with
big the company is,
uh,
if it is startup, what stages, how it's
yeah.
doing, those kind of
And
questions.
yeah, typically if you ask them something they don't know, they'll probably, oh yeah, it's probably more of a question for someone else. That's okay. They're not gonna be like, oh, you dick, you asked me something I don't know. It's probably not gonna be like that. But I think some of the things I like to ask non-technical people is like, oh, how do you like working there? How's the work-life balance? What are the things you like about working there? Yeah, so some questions to ask technical people. Um, I have interviewed interns before, so I know what managers are looking for, or I know what some managers are looking for. Um, a good question to ask is like, um, uh, questions about the business model of the company, like how the business works, how the tech works. I think like questions that seems to be a little lackluster to managers, I think, or to my old manager was like, um, I think he described it as like, oh, I don't really want to hear people who ask like, oh, what am I going to be doing this summer? Like, what am I going to do? Uh, like, am I just like, what project am I going to be working on? It's good to ask like business oriented questions because it shows more of an interest in why you want to work there. He felt that he was interviewing an intern, and that intern asked about business questions, and he was like, I really like him because it felt like I was interviewing a full-time employee, not an intern. So I think that's a pretty good sign that asking about business values and stuff like that is a good thing to ask. That's my
Yes.
2 cents. Mhm.
And I think the project questions is fine to ask, but maybe don't put too much focus in it, because usually they hire interns is usually for projects, because
Yeah.
you're only there for so many months
Hmm.
that you won't get to um, put in the regular flow, right?
Yeah.
Usually you would just do a project.
Yeah. It's good to ask about teams too.
Yeah, maybe like after asking about projects, ask about what this project brings. Why are we doing this, right?
Hmm.
Why are we doing it this way versus the other way?
Hmm. Yeah. I think uh, yeah, that would be something I would label as like an insightful question. I think there's always like certain types of questions that I typically ask, which is just like just chit chat questions. So like things like, oh, how big is the team? Well, like what product am I going to be working on? Uh, Work life balance. It's that I think that's good to ask like at the end
And
of an
actually,
interview.
no, those are actually beginning, right? And for HR can answer those questions, right? How
Oh
big is the
yeah,
team? Work-life
uh,
balance, they can definitely answer that. They should, right? I mean, that's the whole job.
yeah, and then I don't know, what would you describe to be like a genuine question to ask?
Genuine questions I'll usually ask the engineer because that's like who you'll be talking to most of the time, right? And
Mm-hmm.
stuff like, do they like working here? Well, when did they join? What project they
Yeah.
worked on?
Mhm. It's good to like sort of understand who you're talking to, I
Oh yeah,
think.
100%. And usually
Yeah.
they give you a roster of the people you're gonna be talking to and their title, so you'll know. And
Hmm.
sometimes it might not, the engineers, they might not even be on the team that you're gonna be working on.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could be a cross-functional teams.
Hmm.
So,
And you also want to ask about like like questions about, related to your passion. So chit chat, genuine, insightful, and then passion. And then so a like a passion oriented question would be like, oh, maybe you're interested in like machine learning, right? You want to ask about, oh, how is this applied to some products at your company? Maybe you're interested in like distributed systems, right? And then like, what opportunities does this company have for candidates like me who's interested in a certain field? Uh, yeah, things like that.
and chances are, if you research on their projects, at their company and the product, you'll be able to come up with these questions very easy, right?
Yeah, I think that might also have some potential in affecting your team placement, because at the end of the day, the people who interview you are the ones kind of like that know you the best and will probably make the most contributions in your team placement, unless you work in a big company who only cares about your business value and they're just going to place you wherever they need you. So yeah. And then at the very end of an interview, I think it's good to ask like, oh, what's the next steps of the interview? When do I hear back about next steps?
It's
uh,
usually not very accurate. There's a lot of variables.
yeah, but I think it's good to sort of define the
Yeah,
difference
but
between a
once you,
month and a
yeah,
week.
once you know, like if they give you a number, then you know when to follow up.
Yeah, yeah, it's always good to follow up, in my opinion. Don't follow up every day. Follow up maybe like every week, and then every few days. But yeah.
And lastly, well, if you got an offer, then
What do you do?
what do? You can negotiate if you have
I think,
leverage.
yeah, if you've read like Cracking the Coding interview, there's like a whole section about negotiation, so you should probably read that. But typically, if you're a new grad, uh, you probably don't have much leverage because I don't unless you're a special kid, which I was not. You have multiple offers from multiple big
Unless you're
companies.
like us.
And yeah, you can basically. I've heard that you can basically put companies into like a bidding war over you, and they'll kind of just like escalate their pay until.
That's a good way to put it. But yeah, you have to time it very nicely. Otherwise, it's not
Yeah,
gonna work. They're
yeah.
H, they're
I say it's hard to sort of like get multiple offers at the same time.
yeah, HR job is once all the people said yes, their job is to get you as quickly as they can, and they're
Yeah,
not gonna let you drag on.
yeah. I think my last company like allowed me to maybe like I had like 3 days to sign. Some companies let me have like a month or a week to decide. Uh, but yeah, I think when a company's interested in you, they'll let you know as soon as possible.
They'll try to
I think,
grab you if they're interested in
yeah,
you.
my last job, they tried to grab me like the same day I had the interview. So
And for those that get a rejections, well, ask for feedback if you can.
yeah,
Um, Try to think about.
one of the worst ways to get a rejection is after you had an onsite, they're like, hey, can we schedule some time to chat after your on-site interview? on the phone like tomorrow. And whenever you kind of like hear like, oh, dude, the HR person wanted to have a conversation with me tomorrow after my on-site, you're kind of expecting great things, like, or else like why would they spend time, or why would they waste your time um giving you bad news, right? So I was like, oh man, I'm totally gonna get the offer. And then you're like, you have to wait a painful 24 hours just to find out that, hey, well, we certainly enjoyed having you come in yesterday, but and that's when your heart can start sinking. Yeah, I think that's the worst way to get a rejection. That's happened to me probably like 2 or 3 times, where they like want to call me like the next day and not the day of. And I think I much prefer like written rejections than like phone calls, because A, you're wasting my time, B, you're getting my hopes up. And yeah, and then I always try to like, oh well, can I, like I'm already like pretty pissed off, and I'm like, oh, can I get some feedback on uh what I could improve on next time? And then they'll typically, sometimes they'll give you feedback. Other times they're just gonna be like, yeah, I can't give that information to you. That's happened to me pretty much all the time.
Yeah. Just
But
I'm sure you know what you did wrong, right? In retrospect, and if you
mhm,
can't pinpoint, it's probably because they have a better fit person,
yeah.
and that's just how it goes. I mean,
Hmm.
you never know what seniority they're looking for, right? They might say they're looking for junior, but
Yeah.
you don't know.
Yeah, I think I've gotten both reasons, where it's like, oh, we just don't think you're a great fit, or we find someone with more experience or like a better fit for the company. But don't be too rude during that phone call. Or
Yeah, definitely
yeah,
don't burn the bridge. Yeah, don't burn the bridge.
yeah, like I think they will, like, I think HR people know if you're feeling upset. Um, yeah, because they're basically like the deliverers of bad news. So I'm sure
I
they're
don't know, man.
used
I
to it.
mean, they do it every day, right? They
Yeah,
probably get desensitized.
yeah, I would hate to be an HR person. But yeah, I think after a rejection, it's okay to feel bad. Allow yourself to get butt hurt for like a day or two, and then get back to the grind, keep it going. So yeah, that's my personal experience. I get sad. I think my adaptation, or my desensitization, if that's the word, to getting rejected is, I think my first rejection, I felt butthurt for like a week. Like I didn't apply to any jobs, I didn't do any leak code. I was just like upset for an entire week. And then eventually I get upset for like 3 days, and then just like a day. And then the next day I'm like, okay, I feel better.
For
Keep
for
going.
for me, I was just so busy. My thing is just keep coming, right?
Yeah.
On site, whatever phone interview that I don't even have time to like think about
Yeah.
feeling butthurt.
Yeah, for me it's always like a cycle, where it's like interview, interview, rejected, next company, interview, rejected. I never have like concurrent interviews. Yeah, so that's my experience. All right.
Okay, well, with
Uh,
that, you
Sorry
wanna
to end on a depressing note,
you
but
wanna
thank
close
you
this off?
for yeah, thank you for listening today. Um,
Remember the resume.
yeah, send us your resume. We're doing it for free. We're not a scam.
And we already got some good ones that we're gonna talk about, dude.
Yeah, so
I can't wait.
if you wanna get featured, better not miss out on the race. Yeah, and then we'll try to push out the next one as soon as possible. So yeah, thank you for listening. If you're interviewing out there, good luck. I think companies are going to start pushing out some new grad positions out soon for like 2021 positions. So if you're on the job market, keep an eye on that. And if you just graduated, congratulations. I think the pandemic's going to keep going for another half a year. So don't be expecting to.
Well, at least they won't be moving for another half a year if they're living with their parents or something.
Yeah. But I think like when you're a new grad and you just join a company, you're kind of excited to sort of like
That's true
be in
too.
that tech environment. But unfortunately, gotta be home. Like it's driving me insane just being working from home all the time.
If you want to learn more, watch our second podcast
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
pandemic office
Mhm.
culture.
We also talk about what it feels like to be single during a pandemic. Not me, of course, because
All
I've
right,
been
all right,
single.
let's close this off. Okay, thanks everyone for watching the CSvois 6. My name is Edward. His name is Juan. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.